How's it going, guys? My name is Dave. I'm a full-time eBay reseller. In this video, guys, we're going to be talking about what I have learned in the past year since I started doing clothing. It's been 1 year since I started. If you guys are new to the channel, guys, I used to have a 16,000 item eBay store doing well over $500,000 a year. And then I lost my electronic supplier that was getting me all that product in order to make that happen. And I gave myself a challenge to switch niches and try to figure this whole clothing thing out and go all in on it. And that's what I did. And now it's been 1 year. Let's see what I've learned. So the very first thing that I learned in this journey with the clothing is that I didn't know anything that I thought I did. I remember when I was doing electronics, I would watch other YouTubers that was doing clothing and I would think that I could just do that as well. And I remember I had this idea that I could just start up a whole extra side clothing business and just have like a warehouse just for that while I was still running my electronic one. And I thought I could just buy a bunch of stuff, throw it in there, funnel it, and make a bunch of money. And then when I started doing this, I thought I could just, go all in on clothing. I see people making a good amount of money doing just clothing. And I was like, if they could do it, why not me? So I just started buying a bunch of random stuff. And I learned really quickly, I did not know any brands and I didn't really know anything. I thought I could just make a killing with just like Nike, American Eagle, normal shirts, the LL Bean, little button ups, and just a bunch of normal brands. Learned really quickly that's not the case. And doing a bunch of volume with the clothing is not the answer to make a lot of money. And yeah, guys, the very first thing I learned was I didn't know anything and I didn't know what I was doing. That's the first thing I learned. This is my 90-day total right now. At my peak of doing this so far, I have done 18,000 in 1 month. So we went from zero to that much. I didn't do 18,000 every single month, for the last year. Absolutely not. I've actually only done $95,000 in sales throughout this whole year. Most of that came for the last couple of months, actually the last 4 months. The first couple of months, I actually didn't make much money at all. The very first month, I did $500 in sales with clothing and stuff like that. Transition going into clothing, I didn't just start my store from scratch. I used the same existing store I used when I did electronics. And what I did was, I was just discounting and getting rid of all the electronics that I already had in there. There's a bunch of stuff that was left over from like my whole electronic era. All the good stuff had already sold. A lot of that stuff needed to be relisted and like redone. There were listings from like 4 or 5 years ago. They were just buried in the algorithm. So what I did was I ended up like slowly selling it all off. And then I think like 6-7 months ago, I deleted all electronics, got rid of all of them. And then it was only clothing. So in terms of doing clothing, it's been a year, but in terms of my store only strictly having clothing, for the most part, it's been about 6-7 months, but I did the math and it was $95,000 in sales overall with just clothing, which I think is okay, but I'm very ambitious. I want to be doing way more than that. And now we have a good understanding of what sells, what doesn't sell. And as far as how did I get there, how did I get to the point where I actually knew what to sell and what I'm confident in buying, is by just putting in the work. I would go out there and go to the flea market and I would go through piles every single day and I would search up thousands of items every single week, week to week, touching thousands of items, learning, listing, selling, not selling. And just by watching a ton of YouTubers on here that you guys probably watch as well, I would watch people with 500 subscribers, with 200 subscribers, with 1,000 subscribers, with 10,000 subscribers. I was watching everyone. I think I have watched more people than most people. Very obsessed with learning, and I still am. I'm not gonna pretend like I know all the brands. I actually probably know less than most people, but I know enough to make me the 18,000 that I did. And I have to just get more of the same items that I've already learned and add new items into my brain. So when I'm out there sourcing, in the last 90 days, I sold 1,000 items, which is really good. I'm very proud of that, but I want to get to the point where I'm selling 4,000, 5,000 items. How will I get there? How will I do that? And pretty much, guys, when I'm sourcing, I'm not wasting a lot of time searching new items. I still do search items, but for the most part, I'm grabbing the items that I already know sell, that have already sold. And now that I have a year's worth of data, and now that I've gone through the trial and error of that, now I know to just grab certain stuff, look it up, and not waste time on it. Certain stuff, I know how to tell when something has an indicator that it might be good, so then I search it up. There's certain brands that I have seen that I know for a fact they're not gonna be nothing. And there's certain brands that I see that I know for a fact might be worth something. You just learn over time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and putting in the work consistently in order to be good at clothing. With electronics from the get-go, I was focused mainly on high-end electronics, and that's all I focused on. My average sale price was probably like well over $100 when I first started doing electronics. And then I met this supplier that had a surplus of just a bunch of electronics. And what I did, I just bought them all, listed them all. If they were broken, 4 parts not working, I would just list them into my store. And for the most part, my average sale price was like $50, and I would list thousands of items. So I made a ton of money with that. You can't do that with clothing. You know, it's two totally different worlds. And I'm glad now I'm pretty decent at both. I'm very, very good with electronics, but now I could say I'm pretty good with clothing. I still need to get a lot better. It's gonna take time. In the next couple of years, I think I can get way better. One of the things I'm very proud that I actually learned and I'm pretty knowledgeable on now is actually vintage clothing. I don't find it all that often, but now I know how to pinpoint stuff that is vintage, whether it's true vintage or like a concert tee. I can at least see that now and I know what I'm looking at. When I first started, I didn't know anything whatsoever when it came to vintage. And now at least I know that. I have found a couple of $120, $200 shirts. I don't come across them all the time, but at least I know what I'm looking at whenever I see something. And that's something I'm gonna have in the back pocket of my business forever moving forward. When I say I sell clothing online, I mainly mean clothing, but for the most part, I do clothing and shoes, so apparel. And I sell mainly active apparel. That's why my name is Active Apparel Zone. I like to focus a lot on sporting goods and stuff like that. And you know, I learned a lot about shoes. I already knew a lot about shoes, I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, I was a sneakerhead. I was all into all the Jordans, all the newer shoes that were coming out at the time. For many, many years, probably a decade of my youth was dedicated into just being obsessed with shoes. So I did know a lot about that from the get-go. So right off the bat, what got me most of my sales was actually shoes. That was the main thing. Almost any shoe you can possibly find that is a name brand will be $25 and up for the most part. And it's all dependent on shape. When I first started doing shoes, I was getting a lot of shoes that were damaged, and I figured I could just do the same thing I did with electronics. If I had a $100 headphone set that was broken, I could still get $40 to $50 and it would sell. Trust me, it sells. If you guys have broken electronics that have a significant amount of value, you can still sell them 4 parts. Trust me. I thought I could do that with the shoes. If the bottom of the shoe was rubbed off or if they had like a little hole in there, I would still buy them and I would list them up. I listed up probably like 300 shoes, paid like $5 each, $4 each, thinking I could just slam a bunch of shoes into my store, even if they're damaged, and still sell them. I did sell some of them, but they move a lot slower. If they're in great shape, if they're pretty clean, they move a lot faster. And that's one thing I learned with the whole switch. One thing that I look back on now that was actually kind of dumb was thinking that a bigger item in clothing was gonna equate to more money. And that's not the case whatsoever. With electronics, most bigger electronics were worth more money. So in the beginning, I thought bigger pieces of clothing that had more fabric were gonna be worth more money. But really, it's all about the brands. If a big coat is a good brand, it's gonna sell great for a lot of money. If it's a big coat with no brand, it's worth nothing. So that's one thing that I learned the hard way. I was buying a lot of jackets just thinking that they were gonna be good and just kind of looking at them for how much they would go for, not necessarily how quickly they would move. And we're gonna get into sell-through rate a little bit more after. But yeah, I had that misconception thinking that bigger, thicker things were gonna be worth more compared to the electronics, and that is so far from the truth. Actually, right now I'm not getting that many jackets. I'm in California. For the most part, it's very, very good weather year-round near the San Francisco area. I'm like 2 hours away. It doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold here. So I get a lot of windbreakers and stuff like that. That's probably the thicker stuff I will find. I don't get anything better than that. I know when people are like in way colder areas, you're gonna get some down jackets. You're gonna get some very, very high quality jackets and stuff that I will not find here. Very rarely I will. You can find a shirt that's thin, that's small, and that is worth way more than a jacket. And that's something I learned the hard way. It might be dumb looking back. I think it's dumb. It was dumb thinking that, but that was my thought process. All right, guys, so we're gonna get into sell-through rate. I'm not gonna be one of those people that will say sell-through rate is my one most important aspect of my eBay business, because I think most people that do eBay YouTube are not in my situation. They're not trying to do the things that I'm doing. I have a lot of space here, and I'm about to get a way bigger warehouse, and I'm trying to go the volume route to where my average sale price is $35 to $38, and I'm way more lenient on sell-through rate than most people. And I don't obsess over that. I'm trying to have a very, very massive store. I'm trying to have one of the biggest stores of all time. So my sell-through rate is going to be much lower than most people. But I get product much cheaper than most people, and my average sale price, I would say, is pretty decently high compared to most people. So it's just, you know, I'm in a completely different situation, I understand. And for some people, if you have a very limited space, if you're just starting out, I would recommend to focus only on items that are going to move quickly, quote unquote, using the sell-through rate method. You know, Pegasus Lounge, I need to email him. I just saw his most recent video, but you know, he craps on a lot of people for the sell-through rate method of something being over 100%, and I agree with him. And I'm not going to be those people that push on that 100%. I'm going to just get items that are in demand and that sell in a timely manner for my business. I'm not going to over-exaggerate or over-emphasize sell-through rate in this channel. I'm just going to get items that are in demand, and the way I see that is just how many items I've sold in the recent time frame, like in the last month, and then go based off that. I don't even look up items. The last 1,000 items that I've sold in the last 90 days, I didn't even search them up. For the most part, when I'm sourcing, I already kind of know what I'm looking for. I'm just gonna get the same items over and over again. It's like a Rolodex of like 20 items, clothing brands and styles that I look for. I just focus on those, get those, and come home. I fill up my car all the way, and that's been working great for me. My average sale price right now is actually $42. I sold 1,000 items. My 90-day total is $42,000. Obviously, we have expenses, and not everything is profit. For the most part, that number gets cut in half right off the bat. And no matter how good your cost of goods are, there are still other expenses, especially me. I have a warehouse, so I need to make way more money. I want to make $2-3 million a year doing reselling, and then still cut that in half, and then still pay the government, and then have, you know, maybe $1 million profit. That's my goal, and that's not most people's goals. I see it for what it is. I need to make way more money. I'm in California. If I want to buy a house, I need to make a ton of money here. So that's why I have such aggressive goals, because half of it is gone immediately. And then you still have to worry about taxes and all that stuff. And that's a whole different topic for a different video. But that's why I have such big aspirations, because of all the costs that come with doing all this. So yeah, that's why I do that. I am not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to clothing whatsoever. I probably know less than most people, but I can guarantee I'm going to make money than most people doing clothing. All these right here are vintage Levi's. Some of them from the 90s. Some of them are from like 2003. Some of them from like 2007. And some of them are from like 1980. I have some made in USA over there. I don't know much, but I know this stuff sells. I'm selling these like hotcakes, and I'm going to just focus on getting more and more and more of these consistently. All of these shoes right here are shoes that I picked up yesterday. I don't know the most about shoes, but these are the shoes that I've been selling for like $40 average sale price. These Salomon's right here are in pretty good shape. They just need a little clean. These are some FootJoys golf shoes, and honestly, I think they're pretty cool. If they fit me, I'd probably keep them. I got some Hokas. These right here are like 80 bucks. These are some Pegasuses. I sell them all the time. Got some LeBron James shoes. These are like $35 to $40. These as well. There's some nice Air Maxes. I have access to getting a lot of this stuff, so I get it. And, you know, I just grab it. I don't really even search them up. These Asics I know are going to be like 50 bucks. Some nice little Adidas, probably 40 bucks. You don't need to be the best. You don't need to know the most in order to make a good amount of money on eBay. It is very simple. Once you know kind of what moves, what doesn't move, then you just focus on what actually moves and then move forward. It's very simple. eBay is very simple. Honestly, I would not recommend anyone to do what I am doing. I am trying to chase stuff that most people are not trying to chase. But, you know, you guys can see my videos and get some inspiration to do whatever you guys want to do. There's a lot of people that watch me from my Instagram messages that are just trying to make an extra $1,000 profit a month to cover some bills. And if you guys watch my videos, you guys can definitely do that. If you guys are trying to make that kind of money, you know, it is definitely possible. If you have a normal job, or some people are trying to be full-time eventually. And I'm just gonna let you guys know right now, it takes some time to get into this. When I first started doing clothing, luckily I had made a good amount of money, you know, throughout my entire little 4-year stint doing electronics that I had some capital to start this up pretty aggressively, way more than other people. I didn't start from zero when I did the clothing. I had some momentum. I already knew how to run eBay. I already had my negotiating skills built up for many years, and I knew how to build out my processes to get this going. So that's why I was able to get this going pretty quickly, I would say. And moving forward from here, guys, you guys are going to see some extreme growth. It's going to happen pretty quickly. I've been here before when I was with electronics, when I was at like 18 to 20,000 a month, and out of nowhere it just exploded because I had confidence in what I was doing. I have confidence in what I'm doing now. I'm actually like 100% confident in what I'm doing now. It's just about doing more of what I'm already doing. Doesn't mean working harder. Doesn't mean me slaving at it 12 hours a day. I'm gonna make more money doing eBay, working the same amount, my 8 to 10 hours a day, and then make my videos on top of that. Wake up early and just be consistent. I guarantee you guys, I will make triple the amount of money working the same amount. You don't need to be working harder and killing yourself in order to make more money on eBay when you have certain things set up for that kind of growth. So yeah, guys, I'm excited. That's kind of what I learned in the last year doing clothing, and I'm super excited for this following year. And like I said, guys, I'm trying to be the best independently ran eBay reseller that ever was. That means beating Tech and Sports. That means beating a lot of people that came before him or that are active right now. I see this eBay store, it's Sneaker Cycle. I think they're doing like $8 to $10 million a year, and eventually I'm trying to beat them. And that might be dumb to say, but I have aggressive goals, and you guys are watching the beginning right now. And hopefully this is a clip I use, 5 to 10 years down the road of me talking about that. So yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a thumbs up because it pumps me up to get more videos out for you guys. I'm going to catch you guys later.